Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's REFSIX Weekly. I'm joined, as always, by John and Ramon. How are you guys doing?
Fine.
Doing well?
All good, all good.
Brilliant. Lots to chat about today, so I'll go straight into the news. A few different pieces of news from the refereeing world. UEFA and Macron have launched a new referee kit specific for the Euro finals. It's basically the exact same kit as the officials have been using all season. The only difference that I've seen is they've added a a pattern on the kind of stomach area of the shirt, which has a map of Europe, which is a pretty nice touch. So, new kit being released. Last weekend, Graham Salisbury, who's a EFL referee, retired and did his last game in the EFL. He'd actually accrued 588 games in the EFL, which is incredible. What was really nice to see was his son, who's a Select Group 2 referee, was actually fourth official in the game. So congratulations to Graham on his retirement and a great career. The playoff semi-finals for the EFL have been announced and the referee appointments have been made. And what's really interesting this season is that on the championship, Select Group 2 officials have been used on the semi-finals. Previous years, there'd normally be a Select Group 1 official. So I think it's down to kind of clashes with the Premier League schedule. Obviously, we're in a strange year in terms of scheduling. So the Select Group 2 officials have been chosen for those games. There was some unfortunate news out in South Africa where an assistant referee, Sean Olive, unfortunately tragically died in a car accident. He was actually named assistant referee of the year in 2019-20. So really shock for the refereeing community there. We obviously send our best wishes to his colleagues, his friends, and obviously his family there. So some sad news. And then the last piece of news came out, I think, today, which was the Women's FA Cup final 3 rounds. So the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and finals have been moved to next season, when the final will actually take place on December 5th. So again, based on scheduling, they haven't been able to get the games in any amount of time possible, and probably due to the fact that so many games are happening at Wembley makes it really hard to schedule that game in. So that has been moved to later on in the year. So 2 Women's FA Cup finals next season to look forward to, which will be great. So that's the news from around the world, the refereeing community. And now I guess, Ramon, we can get into some of the refereeing incidents from the week.
Yeah, so there have been a couple of incidents last week, and some of them we're gonna just touch upon, and others we're gonna maybe talk a bit more about. But basically, we're gonna talk about the Villareal against Arsenal Europa League semi-final game. There was one incident that's interesting there. I'll get back to that. And then there was 2 incidents, Wolverhampton and Brighton game 3 days ago, involving Lewis Dunk, the captain, and Maupay. And then there was an incident as well in the Aston Villa Man United game, a red card for Watkins. And we're gonna end up with, the Raheem Sterling not getting a penalty in the City and Chelsea game. So yeah, and then we can touch upon the handball for in the Fulham game by the goalkeeper. So if we go back and start with the incident in the Villareal against the Arsenal game, I think it was the minute 86, 87, where Pino was fouled from behind by Murray, the Arsenal player. The referee, was a free kick to the Real player. What happened is that the Pino, who the Real player, goes to the referee and asks and tells him to show a yellow card for Murray, and instead the referee gives a yellow card to Pino. For I guess it's an unsupposed behavior. So, but I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Have you ever experienced that in your games?
I love it. I think we should be doing more of that. I don't think it's sporting in any way that players are trying to get other players carded. So yeah, I think it's great. I don't know if I can't. I feel like I may have done this in the past. I can't recall an incident, but I would definitely show a yellow card in that scenario too. Maybe what I may have had is, a player asking for a yellow, and I'd like without the gesture, and maybe what I'd say is, you can have it if you want it, but I'll try and manage it there. But if they're showing a yellow card by gesture where everyone can see, I think that's the appropriate course of action.
What about you, John?
Yeah, I've booked a player for it. As I'm sure most of the listeners would agree that I am chief, of the dark arts. But I think it's fair. But the only one I'd question would be: are we booking for or cautioning for dissent by word or action because it is a word or action, or are we booking for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Yeah, I think it's more unsportsmanlike conduct, in my opinion. But I think either or there are probably okay.
Yeah, so
For me, I haven't booked one for it. I think it depends on the tempo of the game, and where we are in the game. But I think in this situation, it was fair.
Yeah, the
to give
only
him a yellow
caveat
card.
I would say is if it's a really friendly game and the player's done it in a joking way, obviously you don't want to go in and be like, well, there you go, kind of thing. So that's the only thing I would say. But if they've meant it, if it's serious and the tempo and the temperature's high, it's definitely worth considering.
Yeah. Cool. Next thing, there's two incidents in the Wolverhampton-Brighton game. First of all, it was minute 53 where Lewis Dunk pulled Fabio Silva back. Fabio Silva's teammate played a ball through the defenders, and Fabio Silva was clearly faster than Lewis Dunk, and the only way to stop him was to pull him back. The referee straight away gave him a red card, and was shown off. So, yeah, what do you think about that, Hassan?
Yeah, easy, probably one of the easiest decisions this weekend, I think. There wasn't, if I remember rightly, any covering defenders. So the red card was for Dogzo. It was, I think the challenge was outside the box, right? So it wasn't a penalty. So the pull of the shirt, easy decision. The only thing obviously to note is if the incident was in the box, it would still be a red card for Dogzo in an attempt to play the ball. So really easy decision.
Yeah. I thought John could take the next one, the Maupay red, because that one is also an interesting one. We don't exactly know what he said to the referee after the match, but the match was over, they lost 2-1. Brighton, they really needed the win, Maupay was frustrated, goes to the referee. The referee was Jonathan Moss, goes over to him, says something out of frustration, and gets a red card.
yeah, so that's an easy one in my eyes. I think a lot of referees don't give it because it's after the game and it's a lot of paperwork. But I think he's made it, he's made his bed, he's made it really simply, he's gone up, he's been aggressive. I know that when it's been reported on Sky Sports, he was sent off for abusive or insultive language. So we can only assume, and I don't think he's got any leg to stand on, to be fair. I think, like we said with the first one, I think referees should do more of it, because I think we take just as much flack from the final whistle to when we enter the changing room as we do the 90 minutes that we're actually on the pitch.
Yeah, I think again, we don't know what was said. Maupay's got a bit of form for this as well. And yeah, I mean, look, again, we try and give some learnings to referees who listen to this. The only thing I will say is, because it was out on the field and everyone can see it, it's a really obvious thing to be able to give a red card. Maybe it would change if you were in the dressing room or in the tunnel where there's not other people there and it's not so public. You may be able to manage it in a better way. But when someone says something to you that you find offensive, no matter what, it's a red card. So see you later.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree on that. We don't know what he said, but we assume that he said something that's for red card. So yeah, but this is what happens when you're frustrated, right? And you're losing, and you're at the bottom of the table.
Yeah.
So,
and that's where it's important to have some empathy as a referee, but there is lines, right? There are lines that you can't cross. So he obviously crossed it in Jonathan Moss's eyes, and there you go.
Yeah.
So again, red card. Aston Villa against Manchester United 3 days ago. Long ball for Oli Watkins near the inside the penalty area. Dean Henderson, the Man United goalkeeper, decides to go out. What we see is he tries to kick the ball, but in the end pulls his foot back, and we assume that Oli Watkins dived.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the replay many times. To be honest, I can't be 100% sure if there was a penalty or not. I've read that the Aston Villa manager said, well, he needs to get hurt before he gets a penalty, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in my opinion, the reaction from Oli Watkins wasn't like he wasn't protesting against the red card, so it was fine. But what do you think, John?
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that saves him is he didn't protest about the red card, like Hassan said.
Sorry, it was a second yellow card, just to be clear on that. Second yellow card.
But I think to send somebody off for simulation is, it's one of the harsher ones, I think, because it's just, if he'd have been cautioned for the first yellow and it was his first yellow, everyone would have been like, yeah, fair enough, But obviously a second one is a bit more on the harsh side. It's something that we've always been told to be aware of what they've been booked for and who's on a booking already. So, do you know what I mean? We've just got to be aware of that, because I feel like that one was fairly easy to manage. Because it went straight out. I'm pretty sure it went out for a goal kick anyway, didn't it? So, I mean, it's like it could have been just like, yeah, get up and run away. But yeah, that's my opinion.
I think simulation's one of the hardest things to give, especially at the Premier League level where the speed is so high, right? And if the players are running at such speed, only a little nick can send them off balance, right? Key thing here is simulation. You're effectively telling the player and those around him that they've cheated, right? That's basically, if you're going to show a yellow card, you're saying you cheated.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a penalty. I'm maybe trying too hard here to be on the side of Ollie Watkins here, but I think there's an element of he expected a challenge to be made, and therefore his body, or he was basically reacting to expected challenge. What I don't think he did was actually claim for the penalty, though, which was interesting. I don't think he went on the floor and said, hey, I think that should have been a penalty, which would have made it, in my opinion, a dive. But he didn't. He expected contact. He didn't really get it. He falls on the floor, and then he gets the second yellow. So, but then he doesn't protest. So obviously the decision was accepted, but I think it could have been managed. But again, because he's accepted it, maybe he was looking for it. I don't know. But I think for those referees out there, simulation is, you've got to be really sure. It is acceptable for a challenge to happen in the box and contact to be made and it not be a penalty. There has to be enough contact for it to be a foul. So this was an interesting one. This is maybe the one that, the first time I've potentially sided with the player here, that I think they could have got away with not giving a card and managing.
But the thing about it is also that the referee took the decision. There's no penalty and booked him, but VAR was not in it and said you need to go out and check this because it wasn't clear and obvious, right? referee
Well,
only took it
the only way on that incident that VAR could have got involved was if they thought it was a penalty, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's a second yellow. Even if they didn't think it was a second yellow, they couldn't get involved in that.
Yeah.
Scenario.
But if there was a penalty,
Yeah, and then he would have got the yellow card rescinded and given the penalty, and probably stepped up and taken it, right? So that would have been an interesting minute of change.
I don't know how many times we have mentioned VAR in the podcast, but we're gonna mention it a couple of times more. So
yeah, we need a VAR counter, maybe.
Yeah. But the next one is Raheem Sterling. So it's the Man City against Chelsea game, where Sterling gets a long ball again, and we see Zuma from behind. Yeah, he definitely. I will not say definitely. We will talk about that. But something happens in the penalty area, right? Where Zuma from behind tackles him, or maybe not. Sterling falls down. He wants a penalty. The referee says no penalty, and VAR was not looking into it, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe they were, but there was no clear and obvious here as well. So. Yeah. Again, here, what do you think the decision should be here, Hassan? I mean,
so Anthony Taylor was a referee, probably one of our probably top two best referees in the Premier League. We've talked about him a few times, right? When I watched it live. I thought it was a penalty. Obviously, Anthony Taylor doesn't give it, so then VAR can come in and have a look. And it kind of comes back to my point around Ollie Watkins earlier. There can be contact and it not be a penalty.
not enough.
Yeah, so they've obviously deemed it not to be enough to warrant to be clear and obvious. So I think if Anthony Taylor does give that penalty, VAR doesn't get involved either, right? Because it's one of those where it's really discretionary. So personally, I thought it should have been a penalty. Again, you could maybe consider players' form in the past. You know, Sterling is known to be someone who goes down quite lightly, and that may have tainted the decision here. There is minimal contact, but again, when I talk about Ollie Watkins, it was Sterling's going at speed. A little bit of a touch can knock him off balance, and then you've got to decide, is that enough to be a foul or not? Personally, I thought it was, but I'm actually, I think it was a penalty, but actually, I think I'm happy with it not giving as a penalty for the same reason.
So if it was a penalty, what color of card would you have been giving?
That is a great question. That is a great question, because it didn't feel like the contact was made in attempt to get the ball, right? It wasn't. It was just like a tangling of legs, almost a trip. And
it was a bit clumsy, right?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly if Sterling was in control. If he wasn't in control of the ball, if the ball was bouncing, we can easily get away with not being a dog zone and just giving a foul, because it's probably not even a yellow card. It's not reckless, right? But if you think Sterling has control of the ball, I think you've got to consider a red for Dogzo there. If you deem that to be the case, John, go on. What, are you agreeing or disagreeing with me on this one?
I think it's a pen, and I don't think it's a card. Anyway, I think it's like, it's a clumsy challenge or careless challenge. I don't think anything of. But I think your point of minimal contact, I also think we've got to look at the Man City penalty in the first half is very, very similar in terms of the players behind him. There's contact made. There's not a lot of contact, but it's still a pen. It seems like, obviously a lot of players talk about consistency, and they're not identical, but they're very close in the same challenge. So why is one being given and one not? And granted, it looks like a tangle of legs, but I think when you review it from the angles that they got, it's pretty nailed on pen.
Interesting. Cool.
It's a big game. Giving 2 penalties to Man City maybe would not look that good for Anthony Taylor. I don't know. There's a lot of considerations here for the referee, right? Like
and it was a quick break, if I remember rightly. It was a quick break as well. I think Anthony Taylor may have got caught upfield. I think it was like from a corner. I can't remember, but it felt like Chelsea were attacking, and it was a quick break. So that's going to play into the decision making process. But it wasn't given. Chelsea went on and won. Man U lost last night. Man City still win the league, and
Yeah.
And Newcastle have got Man City this weekend, so hopefully they play a second team, even though their second team will be our first team on the best day. So hopefully we can pick.
We got a sneak peek of the Champions League final, right? For the Man City team.
Yeah.
Let's see how that will go.
And I think it's interesting, and you know what? It would be. I've asked this question in the past, but I think it would be really interesting to see if they go with. I don't think they will, but if they went with an English official on the game, and the question would be: did Anthony Taylor put himself in the spotlight for that game or not? It could be a game that they consider. I don't think there was a huge amount of dissenting voices from the game. I think he got most of the big decisions correct. Yeah. So, and I really think that penalty decision was a 50-50. I think you can give it both ways and you can be happy both ways. So,
let's stick with the VAR. So the last thing we're gonna talk about is the key incidents from last week or this week. This was a game on Monday, right? So last round, it was the Fulham game against Burnley, where the goalkeeper, I think, let's see if I can pronounce his name, Alphonse Riola.
Yeah.
With the long ball again, the goalkeeper decides to come out from his penalty area, and well, in the video, you clearly see he stops the ball with his hand, right? This is what you see on the video. So the question here is, why didn't he get a red card, or why wasn't he sent off? Why was VAR in this situation here, right? So John, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough one, isn't it? Because we've spoken about this sort of like handball situation a couple of times on the podcast in terms of if it's the other way around, as in an attacker, the game is instantly stopped and the goal is disallowed. It doesn't matter where it touches his hand, and that rule's not changing. I don't feel law isn't changing, but there seems to be a lot of interpretation with the other way around when it comes to defenders. I think it's a red card.
Why are you giving a red card? You think it's dog zone?
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree on this one. Yeah.
I think there are some considerations here that you need to figure out. So, number one, the referee obviously thought it was handball because he's given a free kick. So, whether you think it's too close or not, that's maybe one question to ask. Has he got enough time to react? I think he has, right? So we're pretty happy with a handball here. Now the question is dog zone. So there's 4 criteria: distance to goal, direction of travel, proximity of defenders, and control of the ball. So someone might say, hey, but there's a defender right by them. And I would challenge that, because normally, if you think about Dogzo, you'd have a goalkeeper on the goal line and the challenge is coming in. Well, you've actually taken the goalkeeper out of the situation because he's there. So it's actually even easier. That covering defender's got even more of a hard job because they don't have a goalkeeper behind them. So I actually think that's a tick that can be Dogzo. The only thing I would say is the control of the ball. I'm not sure if you can concretely say that the player, I can't remember who the attacker was, but I don't know if you can say that they're going to gain control of the ball, because they're in a very similar position to where the defender is. It's slightly different, right? Because control of the ball, normally, if you think about Dogzo there, the player's got the ball at his feet and they're running through and they get tripped or they get challenged, right? Whereas this one's slightly different because he's not actually got the ball in his possession, it's passing. So that would be the saving grace. And that's why VAR probably decided it wasn't clear and obvious. The only way they would have got involved is if they thought it was clear and obvious and that it was a Dogzo and it should have been a red. But go on, Rimon, do you think it was a red? I think you're on mute. You're on mute. Rimon?
Yeah, you explained it very well. Still off?
No, now you're good.
Okay, sorry. So you explained it very well, and I still think it's a red card. I still think VAR should have looked into it. But again, Premier League is the one league they always talk about handball, right? It's never-ending story about.
This one is a fairly unique one. You don't see this one often. I'm okay with it not being red, but I'd be interested to hear what the listeners say on this one.
But the striker was Maupay, I think his name is. Like, if I pronounce it correctly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it for the incident from last round, and let's jump into the next topic, John.
I mean, the only other incident that came up last night, which was interesting and that I could have touched on in the news, was Axel Twanzebe having a watch on during the game. It looked like a watch, or it could have been a Whoop watch, which is a health tracker. So maybe we need to do some research in terms of law, but I'm pretty confident that's not allowed, even if it was for some medical reasons, which has been stated in some places. But there's not been any official kind of information come out about why he was wearing it. I think he's forgot, or he's either been paid to wear it or something, and the assistant referee or the referees just missed it. So we'll do some digging, and maybe we can touch on that next week if we find anything more interesting. Yeah. But that was definitely a good one on social media last night.
Yeah, it was a good one. But yeah, today's main topic is obviously following the theme of the FA Cup final at the weekend. And obviously there are a lot of been sort of like tournaments. Congratulations to anyone that's got a tournament as well, by the way. A final in their supplementary cup or whatever tournament they've been running. So congratulations to you guys. But I just wanted to see how you guys deal with the occasion of a cup final, and like, is there anything you do different in your pre-match to a cup final, whether you be a referee or a assistant referee, and yeah, sort of give the listeners some ideas coming up for their games.
Good question. Yeah, congrats to anyone who's got a cup final, and if you haven't, don't be disappointed. There's more to come next year. I've had a few cup finals at really different levels. One thing you'll probably get is slightly bigger audience or crowd than you normally get, especially now in England where crowds can be at games. So like even, having a Sunday League Cup final, in the Sunday League, you'd probably get 3 people watching, and you'd maybe get 30 people, let's say, watching the cup final, or maybe a bit more now, who knows? So that's one thing to bear in mind, that there may be a bit more of a crowd than you're used to, which is quite a cool dynamic. Consider what you're going to wear to the game. So even if it's Sunday League, the leagues would like you to wear a suit potentially to the game. So I think that was always what we've done, is even at the lowest levels, if it's a cup final, turn up in a suit, embrace the occasion. Firstly, celebrate the fact that you got the appointment, right? Because you don't just get it because you're available on that day. You got it because you're probably one of the referees that have been, got the best marks of the season, or you've showcased your skill set really nicely in the season. So that's another thing. I've got some more things, but I'll let Rimon come in on any other ideas that you have around cup finals.
Yeah, well, I only had one cup final in Denmark, and I was an assistant referee. It was a lot of out there. You feel a different energy during the game. You're more focused. You're more motivated, I would say. It's more exciting to be in a cup final than just a normal game. So yeah, there's a lot of things to look forward to when it's a cup final.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that you need to know is, how does a game finish? So is there extra time? Is there penalties? Know what those different scenarios are, and make sure you include them in your pre-match, because you don't want to have another pre-match at the end of the game with your assistants, because you've got 22 players to manage and all the subs, etc. Make sure you're making notes of the subs, because you want to ensure who's on the pitch at the end of the game are correct. So the penalties, people who are taking kicks from the penalty mark are the right people. That is actually something I messed up with once in a tournament in Portugal. I completely messed up, and basically all of the players gathered on the halfway line, and the sub goalkeeper took a penalty, and I just completely blanked it. And no one else noticed other than the observer on the day. which shows how good that observer was to pick that out. But it was a big mistake and something I'll remember. I don't know. What else, John? Have you got any other ideas for cup finals? Any other tips?
Yeah, so obviously the chances are you're not going to get a game now because you're into the sort of semi-final stage for a couple of weeks. So stay fit, keep your mind clear. And it's all about like managing that occasion, isn't it? Because it's a big day out, not just for you, but for the players as well. They've all worked hard to get there. The chances are they're going to be hyped up as well. So it's just about managing expectation, managing the day as well. Like you say, you potentially have a fourth official, which is something you've never had before. So your pre-match is going to change. So the night before, write down everything that you want to do on the day, so you've got a little checklist so that you feel calm and you've got everything collected while you step out on the pitch. But other than that, go out and enjoy it. Like, you've been given the game for a reason. You've shown that you can do it. Go out and enjoy it and show them what you're made of.
I would also leave 10 minutes earlier. I always get there a little bit earlier than normal. Occasionally, I think I've always tried to get a member of my family just to come down to celebrate like that, getting that appointment with me as well. And maybe taking a few photos from the side, which is great. Maybe I'm being a bit pretentious there, trying to get photos. But
no, I'm all for that. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think it's worth doing that. And then the other thing is just referee the game as you normally would. There is temptation that you want to. An early challenge goes in and you want to try and manage it because it's a cup final. But if it's reckless, if it's excessive force, you've got to deal with it. I think a few years ago, I can't remember if it was a playoff final or it could have been a playoff final or a trophy, FA trophy final. The referee had a player sent off within the first minute, maybe 2 minutes. I think the referee was Neil Hare, and it was a great decision. It was excessive force and it had to happen. So make sure you referee the same. And then again, from one of my cup finals, a little story was a player was on a yellow, the team were losing, literally about 30 seconds left. The player commits a foul and then a really clumsy foul which I gave him a last warning for. And then within like 5 seconds, he goes and gives another challenge.
Oh dear.
And I just, what would you do in that situation? I'm intrigued because I've got literally 5 seconds left of the game.
I'd probably be like, go away. Don't be an idiot. You got 5 seconds to play.
And that's what I did. And this is the proof of refereeing. So I had two of my one said, hey, you should have sent the guy off. So you just got to stick to your guns and figure out what you prefer as a referee, because both decisions there were correct to give the red or not. So hopefully there's some good tips. John, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think we've covered some great tips there. And like I say, enjoy it.
That's the main thing. Enjoy it.
Yeah, enjoy it. You've got there for a reason, and use REFSIX as well. That will help with the subs. Plug that one.
Everything else.
But we got a few questions this week, so I wanted to see. We got quite an interesting one. So does the ball need to be in or out of play when given a sin bin, or can you stop play for a sin bin? So Hassan, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I think you have to stop play to give sin bin. I'm pretty confident. Because it's dissent, right? So if the you've got to blow the whistle, and it's got to be either an indirect free kick or a free kick, or it's normally at a stoppage in play where you give the yellow card, right? They may have run past you and you say, cool, I'm going to get you on the next stoppage. So is that the question, or is it when the player comes back on the field?
No, so does the ball need to be out of play when giving the player a sin bin? So, yes. For example, if the player gives you dissent by word or action, do you then let the ball carry on, or do you blow there?
Oh, okay. Well, that's two different. Yeah, there's two different questions there. So yes, you have to stop play to get to how you want to manage it in terms of, do you stop play there or then, or do you wait? It depends on what they've said. I think if you've decided that you're going to sin bin a player, unless there is an attacking opportunity for the other team, I think it's weak if you allow play to continue. It could continue for a minute and everyone's forgotten about the actual reason for the sin bin, right? So I think it needs to be there and then. I know, Rimon, you actually give temporary dismissals for every yellow card, so it's slightly different.
Oh, leagues, yeah.
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 So I guess in that case, it's always a stoppage in play too. You wouldn't just.
Yeah, I mean, it would look a bit funny if the game was going on and you run with a yellow card to show a player off. That's just it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
So stop the game. I mean, if the player is very aggressive or something, stop it right away. Otherwise, the yellow card, the dismissal can come afterwards when the ball is out of the game. So yeah, just to keep your control of your own game instead of losing everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, no, it's a good one.
And the only other thing, sorry, John,
No, sorry.
especially in England, right, where we're doing it for dissent, is you want to really give the opportunity to tell the player why you're giving them a sin bin, because they're about to spend 10 minutes off the field, but you need to give them the reason for it, because when they come back on, you want to make sure that they're thinking about that reason. So you're just giving them a yellow card and telling them to go while the play's going off. You don't have the opportunity to have that conversation. So that's another reason. Yeah. But I don't think in law you can do that. I don't think you can just give them a yellow and say, get off the pitch while the ball can play.
No, you can't. No, you can't. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to get absolutely battered if I get it wrong. But I'm pretty sure law says that you can stop the play and give an indirect free kick.
Yeah.
For dissent from where the player was.
Yeah.
And so obviously if he gives you enough, or he or she gives you enough, then you can just stop playing and be like, okay, you're going anyway. So you obviously stop to give the indirect free kick.
I think most cases of dissent happen after an incident though, right? So probably in most cases of dissent, you don't actually, it's already stopped. I would assume, right? Like,
yeah, you'd probably be spot on. And the final question today is it okay to blow the full-time whistle a few seconds after a goal has been scored, or before the restart is retaken? So if the goal goes in, can you blow the whistle there, end the game, obviously if it's over 90 minutes or whatever they're playing, or do you wait for the other team to take the centre and then blow it straight away? So what are your thoughts?
Well, I do it often in my games. So I just blow the whistle if the other team, one of the teams scored, and we have played the 90 minutes plus whatever additional extra time there's. So yeah, I can just blow the whistle and that's it. I mean, I don't see why we need to go to the middle and start the game again. So in my opinion, whistle, blow off the game, and that's it.
I think there's a unwritten, like, I don't know if it's a rule or like a ceremony that referees have, like whereby they'll wait for a goal kick to happen. They'll, that takes 30 seconds. Let's say that it's 90 plus 3. Let's say it's 93 minutes. The shot goes, it goes wide, and then they wait for the goalkeeper to go and get the ball, put it down. With 30 seconds over, they kick it. It's in the middle of the air, and then they blow the whistle. It seems to be like a thing that we've developed as a refereeing community without really it being in law or being told. And we do it because we watch the professionals do that a lot of the time, right? That's what happens. And so I don't know why or historically why that's happened. So yes, the answer is you can do it whenever you feel like it. In terms, you are the sole timekeeper of the game. I would strongly suggest you wait for it to be in a neutral zone where players aren't attacking. I personally would, I think depends on the game here, John, for me. If it's Sunday League or like a lower level and a goal gets scored and it's been a fairly easy game, I'll blow the whistle. But if it's been a tough game and a goal gets scored, for example, maybe I don't want the players to, I don't want to blow the final whistle and all the players be really bunched together. So allowing the kickoff or a goal kick enables the players to spread out a little bit. So I'm using it to my advantage in terms of managing post-match. And then maybe I need the ball back. So maybe I'll wait for, the kickoff to happen and I'll blow the whistle as soon as the kick's been made and I'll take the ball back. So those are different reasons to do or not do it, basically.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Actually, when you think about it, that unwritten rule does seem to apply, because I know that I'll do it, and I've never thought about it like that before. But yeah, no, thank you for answering those questions.
Because you'll be like 30 seconds over.
Yeah,
you'll be 30 seconds over, and all of a sudden it's crazy. But there you go. I'd love if anyone knows the history behind it. or the reason behind it. There may just be a good reason behind it. Let us know. I'd love to know.
Maybe they just say that maybe the referees just want to have the ball start. The ball is the game started and kicked off again instead of just the goalkeepers behind the goal grabbing the ball and blowing the whistle. Doesn't look that good maybe on TV.
Yeah.
So they rather have the goal kick or the kickoff. Whereas in grassroots, I mean, unless you have a VAR, then I mean, who else is looking? So just blow the whistle and that's it.
Yeah.
Cool. John, I think that wraps it up.
I think it does.
Brilliant. Thanks to everyone who's listened this week. Looking forward to the FA Cup final this weekend, and the Women's Champions League final, I think, is this weekend too, on Sunday. So some big games this weekend. Hopefully we'll be watching for some incidents, but any questions you have, send them in. Send us a message on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, or just tweet us or whatever you want to do. We'd love to answer your questions. Thanks for listening. John and Ramon, thank you for being my co-host, and I will see you guys soon.